Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Grace, Alonso, Riverdale, Chapter 18, When a Stranger Calls. It's getting dark. It is getting dark.
It's breaking my damn heart.
I know. Well, before we get into the stuff that gets too twisted, I want to throw out just the Archie references.
Yes, please do.
I can't remember if we talked about Ghoulies. Did we talk about Ghoulies?
We did talk about the Ghoulies.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make sure.
Maybe people are just tuning into our reviews now.
Well, if you missed the Ghoulies, there was a sort of an Archie spin-off cartoon in the 70s called the Groovy Ghoulies. That was this goofy, like, wacky jokes with Dracula and the Wolfman. And anyway, so that's that. Hot Dog is always been Jughead's dog in the comics. Here's the deep cut. Josie the Pussycats and Veronica at the Lodge's real estate launch thing sing Out Tonight from Rent, which is Mimi's song. In the movie of Rent, Mimi is played by Rosario Dawson, who's in Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
So I've been waiting for a connection to that movie, and now we have one.
I was wondering why. I was gonna ask you, I thought it was such an interesting choice of song. I like the song Out Tonight, it is a great one. And it definitely was also what I was gonna point out. It sounded more like Rosario's version from the movie than what I have heard from the Broadway.
The Daphne Rubin Vega,
yes, so I thought that totally makes sense. Wow, I'm glad you caught that, because I did think that was a little strange.
So, all right, Black Hood. So he's calling Betty and manipulating her, and she's allowing him to do it to keep people from dying. And
to get questions answered. So she thinks as long as I keep the Black Hood distracted, keep him on the line, keep talking to him, then I will get a question, maybe I will find out his identity, I can solve this, and at least no one is being harmed or dying in the meanwhile.
She's kind of playing, what's the game with all the rows of heads? Who am I?
It's Guess Who.
Guess Who?
She's playing Guess Who.
She's playing Guess Who. She's narrowing out.
And so what we know about the Black Hood now is that she would recognize his face. He was at the town hall meeting, but that was just to get her attention.
Right.
He feels tied to Betty. He feels like they're friends the more that they keep talking. He feels that they are one and the same. That they both want to cleanse Riverdale.
Any you want to throw out a?
It's her dad. It's her dad.
That's what I was thinking too.
I've said this, I think, since our second review. It's got to be her dad.
Okay.
He knows where Polly is. It all makes sense. Her dad has just been too much of a safety figure.
But would he go through with actually killing Polly post season 1? Do we think that's something that would be on his maybe list?
If Polly is gutted, carved like a jack-o'-lantern, as he says in the episode, then I will perhaps question my assertion that he is the Black Hood. But if Polly is just sort of always threatened to make Betty do things, then it's definitely the dad.
I think you're right.
So we have Betty's relationship with the Black Hood is developing. The only person that she tells about these phone calls in a mistake, I believe, is Archie. She tells Archie about these phone calls, so he is in on it.
He gets stuck having to tell Jughead that Betty wants to break up with him, which she's only doing because the Black Hood is making her. Betty also has to cut things off with Veronica. And of course and so that someone can get killed, we have to drag in a whole new character, Nikki Sinclair. Yeah, so one of Veronica's old, like, dissolute Manhattan party chums.
Yes.
Who has it coming at this point?
Yeah, he's a sleazy fellow. We sort of know that from the jump.
Anybody with a jacket full of jingle jangle is bad news. And then
a whole jacket full of it. He just opens it, it's all right in there.
It's a ton. And then by the time he roofies Cheryl Blossom, it's like, you are.
That is. So it was interesting. I watched this episode twice. I watched it one by myself, and then I watched it the second time with my girlfriend. And I sort of had this feel. I'd seen some stuff on Twitter, unfortunately, that it spoiled me that this guy is an unsavory character and we don't like him around town, and something with Cheryl Blossom. Then obviously we know that he does roofie Cheryl Blossom. He tries to sexually assault her, and then he gets the shit kicked out of him, literally, by Josie and the Pussycats. And when I was watching
that was a showgirls moment.
Yes. Then when I was watching with my girlfriend, she said when Cheryl and Nick meet, she said, "Oh, they deserve each other. They're such a good pair because they're both sort of like smarmy and she refers to herself. She introduces herself. I'm Riverdale's resident it girl."
Yeah. No, I was thinking actually that they did make sense as a couple, but then he roofs her. It's like, oh well, no.
And then I said no.
You get no one.
Yeah, you get no one, and potentially he gets murdered by the Black Hood, because then what we see happen is
Betty offers him up as a sacrifice to keep the rest of Riverdale safe, and I don't really blame her, but it's an untenable position either way.
And then he closes that by saying, "I told you we were the same," something like that. "I told you we had."
So clearly she is being forced to own up to her capability of participating in this sort of like judgmental murder spree that this guy is on.
Yeah, and it does beg some questions about what would you do in that situation?
Exactly.
And you see even her ponytail gets sad. So she starts off the episode. She starts off the episode with this is the Black Hood speaking, and then by the end when she has this really heartbreaking conversation with Jughead at Pops, I can't even think about how they're breaking them up because it makes me so sad.
Well,
saying that Romeo and Juliet, but with a happy ending. Her ponytail is just right by her side.
We need to talk about Jughead, because this episode you get the impression that first he's still halvesies about being a serpent, and then his thought is, well, I'm gonna take over my father's place in terms of joining but keeping the peace. So like he's gonna join the serpents with an eye towards still like keeping them from going bananas on the north side and trying to sort of be a mediator. But by the time Betty has broken up with him because of the Black Hood, you get the impression by the end of this series of jump in rituals, he's like, fuck it, I'm a serpent all the way.
He's full on serpent, to the extent that he kisses, or Tony kisses him, and he reciprocates the kiss at the very end of the episode.
Right, after she's tattooed him.
After she's tattooed a serpent on him. So I think that this is definitely a turning of a corner that happened more abruptly than I thought perhaps it would. I knew that
you thought they'd space it out over the season?
Yeah, I knew that he's towing the line between north side, south side, but he's made a hard right into the south side serpents. And I think he feels a little bit of a major chip on his shoulder, in the sense that he's FP's kid and he wants to keep the peace.
Yeah, and I think that he thought that was maybe gonna buy him a little more safety than it's clearly going to. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. All right, so yes, darker Riverdale, and we're digging it, even though it's bumming us out.
It's bumming me out, but I'm still on board.
All right, fair enough. We'll be back with more next week. Join us then.